John is an author, researcher, and investigative journalist. He has a special interest in the counterculture and also the drug war. John is the owner of a rave promotion company and is also an organizer for the Free Your Mind conference. Please help me welcome John Vibes.
All right, thanks for being here with us today, everybody. And if you want to interject at any time throughout my talk, I kind of do like a free-form thing, so feel free, especially if you disagree and you think that something I'm saying is complete nonsense. Please interrupt me and let me know, because I would not want to pass along nonsense. So I want to talk a little bit about counterculture, because as Scott was saying earlier, everything that people are talking about today is just a different piece of the puzzle. And there's a lot of different ways to approach freedom. There's a lot of different aspects in our lives where we need freedom. So, of course, there's going to have to be different strategies and approaches that we take, especially regarding the different groups of people, too. And if we're talking about counter-economics, we also have to talk about the marketplace of ideas. And that is what I believe is where the realm of counterculture is extremely important. We know we have to change the hearts and the minds of the people out there to really get to where we want to go. But there's mountains of work out there trying to change people's minds in our direction. But I don't feel like there is enough work out there trying to change people's hearts. And that is starting to change, and I will talk about that a little bit later. But traditionally, we've approached this from a very intellectual view. And that's good, and we need that. That's one piece of the puzzle. But we want to be balanced in our message. And one of the problems that's going on in this world and with people and their psychology is that we have this right-left brain dichotomy where certain people fall into certain modes of thinking instead of using a whole encompassing approach. So this kind of goes along with the intellectual and cultural approach that I'm talking about. Some people will be more receptive to a message on an intellectual level, while others are going to be more receptive to one on an emotional. Or did I say emotional? No. Intellectual, okay, great. So yeah, and basically this transition has started to already happen, where people of freedom mind are starting to get more serious about putting art and entertainment and even inventions and things like that, because that builds our culture. We don't want to just get stuck on entertainment and everything. But there is also a lot that we need to be careful about as we try to appeal to our popular culture and everything like that. As a good example, I'll use a record-setting item in the entertainment industry this year, which was the highest-grossing entertainment product of all time, and the cops were the bad guys. Does anybody know what that entertainment product is?
Grand Theft Auto.
There you are, Grand Theft Auto 5. Great answer there. So yeah, it is, the cops are the bad guys, and it's interesting that there's tons of little kids out there playing a video game where the cops are the bad guys. And that is kind of a positive thing. However, as they were mentioning up here earlier on the panel, we don't want to get confused with red market activity and black market activity. So it's great that the cops are the bad guys in the game, but it's not necessarily, or of course it's not a good thing that there's random carjackings and killings and stuff like that. So we want to find a balance, as we bring these messages in an emotional way through art and entertainment to the mass, culture, that we present it in a way that will be palatable to them, but also not feeding in too much of the culture where we give up our voluntary values. We can make things flashy and edgy and, give into that part of society, in my opinion, as long as we don't give up those values of voluntarism. And I think that that is one thing that needs to shine through in the art that is out there. I read a piece in Mises recently that talked about the new movie Maleficent with I don't know, one of the old fairy tales. I'm not too versed with all that. And it talked about how this new rendition of a classic fairy tale actually told a very anti-state story.
The Sleeping Beauty.
It was Sleeping Beauty. Thanks, man. This guy is awesome. So, yeah, like, it's just interesting to see that. We got movies like Hunger Games coming out, and although there were those classic historical, like, counterculture movies that would come out every couple of years, you know, maybe in the 80s, early 90s, now it's every couple of months, you know, these things are coming out, and this is becoming more and more a part of the consciousness. We even saw with, like, hip-hop music, how originally it started out telling truth about the black market and the reality of the things that people were dealing with in the streets. Then it got watered down, but now we're seeing with the internet that as more people are getting a voice, that a lot of that old edginess and you know, true real life experiences of you know, what comes along with the black market and the life that people are forced into in poverty and things like that. So I think that a lot of positive things are happening in the realm of counterculture, but I think a lot of the people who are really the driving forces of the art that is in an anti-establishment mode, I don't think that they're bringing enough of that intellectual aspect in there. Like I was saying earlier, I think it's really important to have that balance. So, you know, instead of just getting pigeonholed into putting the art out there, I think that it's more important to craft the message and everything like that. So, I may be speaking to the choir a little bit on that, but let me go through my notes here and see what else I was gonna... Yeah, so I think it's become common for cops and politicians to become the bad guys. Another show that I wanted to mention was House of Cards with the politicians and how they're all corrupt and greedy. Now again, that's a show that is a very good opportunity to put a whole lot of more truth out there than they actually do, and they can. I think that they could do it without you know, stepping over the line where they would, you know, irritate their advertisers too much or get pulled off network that they're on, which is Netflix, I believe, which would probably be pretty hard. And while I'm on the topic of Netflix and we're here talking about agorism, I want to talk about one of my favorite series. I don't know if anybody's here familiar with the Trailer Park Boys.
Cash coin.
Absolutely. So that's exactly what I'm going to talk about, actually. I put out an article about a month or two ago for Punk Rock Libertarians called 9 examples of agorism and counter-economics in Trailer Park Boys, the new season. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the show, it's basically a story about a group of people who, you know, live in a situation of poverty, and it's the things that they go through on their day-to-day to try to undermine the system and actually live as, you know, free and as wealthy as they possibly can, you know, within the confines of their reality. Now, unfortunately, as I mentioned with the whole Grand Theft Auto issue, you know, these people are, you know, stealing barbecues and shooting guns places they shouldn't be shooting guns. And, you know, it's comedy, it's satire, so we can get away with a certain level of that. And I feel that in the new season, all these young people who are watching, you know, maybe it's kind of weird to say that you relate to people on the Trailer Park Boys, but when you have a character that you're watching on a TV show, you relate to them. It's like, as I was saying earlier, you connect with them people on an emotional level. I really feel that's why Russell Brand has become such a personality now and has been, however you feel about specific economic views that he has been building a lot of bridges and you know, waking up a lot of people that would not normally think about anti-establishment issues at all. And it's because of the fact that they, built an emotional connection with this person through, the cultural, art and things like that he was a part of. So I just think that that's another piece of the puzzle for us to be capturing. So I think that was most of my thoughts. I might be a little bit short there, but does anybody have any questions or actually, one more thing I did want to mention as a part of the culture, and on the topic of agorism and everything like that. The type of events that we're having here today, and the type of events like Porkfest and stuff like that, the first place that I found out about AltExpo, it's doing another thing as far as creating the culture and, just around this message and, these ideas. At Porkfest this year, they had the agorist pitch where I watched a 12-year-old girl win an ounce of gold for, printing out a bunch of magnets that she printed with a 3D printer that she won at another contest. And watching that whole situation was just an amazing thing for me because, I'm sitting here watching the growth of a culture in a way, because I just can't even imagine what that girl's going to be doing in, 10, 15 years. And what the many other people that are her age that are being brought into this culture. And, when you're that age, when you're 12 years old, when you're 10 years old, when you're 15 years old, you may not be ready to read Conkin or Rothbard yet. You may not be there, but you're playing Grand Theft Auto, you're watching The Hunger Games, and you're listening to Bob Marley, and that's setting you up for being more receptive to Conkin and Rothbard when you're ready to read it. It's because that's a part of your reality, that's a part of the culture. Terence McKenna said culture is your operating system. And that's kind of the idea of what I'm going on here, is that, if it's a part of our culture, it's going to be more receptive to people. So if anybody had any questions or comments, I'd be happy to take them.
Let's go ahead and do 5 minutes of Q&A, and then we'll take a 10-minute break before the Bitcoin panel. So does anyone have questions? Kevin, his mic.
Oh, his mic's not on.
Just kidding. Speak loudly, project.
Okay, so I'm joking, but not totally joking. I'm thinking about putting together and this is relevant to art and activism, and it's sort of agorism, I guess. I'm looking to put together a topless open carry march, right? Because I think that there's no reason that these two groups should be.
That's fantastic.
And I find value in that, not to, in a way, or an attempt to reform law, right? But just as one, because it's aesthetically pleasing.
Of course.
Right, which is art, right? And then two, just as an educational purpose. So, do you see those sort of things being fruitful, I guess, in a strictly counter-economic way?
100%.
Okay.
Because that's kind of the idea that I really want to get at here, is that we don't want to just approach this from a strictly analytical, intellectual way. We want to have that material there to reference and to be a part of the culture and a piece of the puzzle, but I think that doing things to get people's attention and things that people are excited about, I really feel that that's the approach that we need to take. And if you don't do that or start to put that into motion, I'm going to be very upset and disappointed. Any other questions or ideas or contributions?
So you're involved with art yourself, right?
Loosely, yeah. Some people traditionally say that, or think that art is just maybe drawing a picture or, writing music. But from my perspective, art is just, expressing what's ever in your soul with whatever tools you have available.
Okay.
So I like to write, and I am a rave promoter, and I host events like that. So that's my form of artistic expression.
I've taught music for many years, and people doing things they never thought they'd be doing, like singing on stage in front of a bunch of people. Art changes people, makes them more subtle, and music has a way, for instance, of like a mantra continuing long after you've heard it. A work of art that you've seen that's moved you continues to resonate within you, that you take with you for the rest of your life potentially. I didn't know anything about Picasso. I'm more of a sound guy, but seeing a film loop about and describing Picasso's life made his artwork seem, I understood it much better, and I carry with me today. So the process of experiencing art and participating changes you, and you change the society as well through art.
That's perfect, man. That's really like a real perfect way to wrap it up. I don't think I could have said it better. Any other ideas? All right, great.